there's something in the water around here. We're kind of a special little small group of people. A lot of great inventions, a lot of big businesses come out of the area. California Polytechnic University is in the area.
Yeah.
I graduated class of '89 with honors, barely because I cut a lot of classes, but passed a lot of tests. Went back to college at 35. Again, graduated with honors, was accepted into Delta International Honors of Business Society. As a sophomore, we tried to create an online group for the Mu Kappa 2, but it was just too difficult to get the teacher signatures and everything. So, yeah, I've been in technology, business, telecommunications, steel industry, construction, built a people's self-help housing at age 17. Ran my own business, from landscaping all the way up to now. We do websites and consulting and stuff like that. And that's all the good stuff. I'm not going to tell you any of the bad stuff. How about that?
That sounds like pretty good stuff, man. So how do you feel about accountability? What creative ways have you used accountability to get things done, Aaron?
It depends on the situation. Like in a corporate environment, employee, boss, type of situation, or even a contractor, subcontractor type situation, it boils down to the paycheck. They're not going to give you the paycheck unless you get the tasks done or unless you spend the hours there. When you start talking about entrepreneurial or business, a lot of the solopreneurs is what they call them. Right. A lot of them, it's a special skill to be able to be accountable to yourself. It really is a rare thing. There are a few that can do it and make it look easy. But in the real world, most people, the majority of the people need at least one other person to kind of say, hey, let's do this. And to be accountable, one other accountable person. You could have an accountability partner that's like, yeah, I'll meet you on Thursday. You call them on Thursday, like, oh, my family, this or that.
Yeah.
And there's really no way to touch base every week. So that other person has to be accountable. I found the best way is just on a project. When someone says, yes, I'm in on a project, that project becomes the central focus for accountability.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that, if I could offer some feedback on that, the whole accountability partner thing, it's all good in theory, right? To have somebody like if I had Clem, we met on a periodic basis and we had a schedule in our calendars, meet and just talk about the things we want to get done. That's good in theory, but if there's no skin in the game for either of us, then it's so super easy to blow off, right? It's just like working out.
Oh, yeah. You got to have some skin. You got to have some skin in.
Yeah. So it's just like working out. You get together and you're like, oh, you're pumped up for the first few weeks. You want to do good, get your body right, and then you have a miss.
Yeah.
And then so since I miss, it's easy for Glenn to miss. And then the cycle just kind of continues. So the trick about it, for me at least, would be how do you develop these creative ways to put skin in the game and make it interesting? Hey, Deb, thanks for joining. For sure. You can call
it could be something as simple. I mean, my mom just turned 74. She keeps telling me, "Oh, I'm not gonna make it this year." And so I'm like, you know what? How about this? I'll bet you $5 I won't drink a single beer for 2 years. Now, okay, there's kind of a little psychological twist on it to motivate my mom. But in reality, that keeps me accountable to her. But it keeps her accountable to me to survive for 2 more years at least. So it's a little bit of psychological play on my mom. I admit it. But
so you're saying that? Oh, hold on, Eric, you're saying that you're telling your mom you're not going to drink a beer. Actually, is going to keep her in some fashion alive for a few more years. Is that she feels that passionately about you not drinking?
No, it's just a mental positive thing, rather than her being focused on, I can't make it, I'm going to die this year, my feet, my back, all these things. It'll switch her focus to, I get to see my son, and whether she wants to get the $5 from me or wants to pay me the $5, it's not about that. It's about, it'll do her heart good because, she's had problems, seen people with problems. I tend to do it in moderation, so I haven't had too many problems. But, it's something she wants to see, and it's not a problem for me. Just to kind of just give her a motivation, keep her accountable for surviving.
Yeah.
In a way. It's a little mind trick, but yeah.
That's pretty high stakes. One of the things I
was going to comment on Deb's talking about being productive in an airport delay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I had one of my coworkers. I'm out here. I'm in Vegas right now, and I had one of my coworkers who was out here for a show as well, and his flight was delayed once, and then he was offered money to, get bumped off the next flight, and he took it. It was a good amount of money from the airlines, and so for that time frame from midnight to 6 a.m., there's no flights running. So in that time frame, he made a music video.
What?
He made a music video in the airport, in the terminal, to Celine Dion's. Oh man, I cannot remember the song. But anyways, it was on YouTube, and it just went viral. It went viral. He was a lonely guy in the airport, and he basically shot the whole thing himself. His name is Richard Dunn, and then he was on the Today Show. He was all over the television. He even got a chance to meet Celine Dion. He flew out here with his whole family to go to the show and meet Celine Dion from being productive in an airport.
All because he was delayed for that flight.
Because he was delayed for the flight. And he took that opportunity to be creative.
It's very interesting. Well, I kind of want to comment, and thank you for that, Clem. I kind of want to comment on one of Deb's comments where she said psychology and tricks always uncoil. I kind of want to understand a little bit more about what she meant about uncoiling. Does that mean that it's only temporary? That's kind of how I read that. But I guess I look at psychology as one thing, and then tricks maybe as another.
I'm not sure, either, because I've actually studied a lot about that in marketing and self-help and motivational stuff, and even some of the scientific studies with positive attitude, and infection doesn't do well in positive attitude people. It really doesn't. Positive attitude people get well quicker, don't get sick as much, because the body produces the right chemical balance to fight off infection. And so using psychology to influence your subconscious mind in a way can influence, like the topic, accountability.
Right.
And that's kind of where, psychology comes in. Yeah, you can use psychology in marketing. Obviously, they do lots of tests where the clicker is and everything, where to put the biggest, highest button conversion. That's all psychology. Yeah. Music is psychology. Responsive writing or, influential writing, copywriting for sales script. That all uses psychology. And if you understand it, you can actually, they call it self-talk rather than the voices in your head. You use positive self-talk. That can influence your accountability to yourself, rather than saying, I'm not going to make your schedule. And then that becomes your focus in your subconscious mind. You say, I'm going to make that schedule. I'm going to make that commitment. I'm going to be accountable. And then the subconscious mind accepts that more readily. Hey guys, I got to bounce. I got an appointment that the people just jumped into the other room. I got a notification. But
thanks for joining.
I'm gonna listen for a bit before I jump out, because I do want to hear what they say.
Yeah, she just came on to defend herself, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. But
who, me?
Thanks for coming. Yeah, I don't know if it's a defense thing or what, but
no, I was responding to Clem's thing. I think I better be on the blab so I can be productive.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I can say I was on the blab while I waited at the airport.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Well, thanks, Aaron, for joining. Really appreciate you chiming in, man. That's awesome. I was just asking about what you meant about psychology and uncoiling. I was kind of curious about what you meant there.
Well, I'm not sure where you got the uncoiling piece from, because I didn't say that.
Oh, well, maybe it was just a typo.
No, I said psychology and tricks. I was responding to your the other guy, Aaron's talking about, using trickery with yourself. I think that's kind of important. I think you really have to play mind games with yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Screw playing mind games with other people. I mean, that's what we normally do, right? We normally play mind games out there in the world with everybody else. Well, how about if we just take it inside and do it here?
Well, what's an example of that?
Well, okay. Let me give you a great example. I have been suffering from this depression thing for many years. And I read an article today that talked about the fact that people who are depressed are, they're pessimists and they're also non-believers. And I am not a pessimist and I'm not a non-believer. I mean, I'm credulous and I'm optimistic. So maybe I've been telling myself a little bit of a story here about what I really am. Maybe I could have changed the dialogue anytime I wanted. And so it goes with same with productivity. I mean, you can go on any given day and say, I'm not being productive enough. Well, first of all, what are you measuring that against? And second of all, I mean, okay, fine, you're not being that productive today, but it's like a diet. Don't get up the next day and quit the diet. Just start over.
Yeah. And I can't wait to dig in. That needs to be another blab for me, Deb. Just hit a hot button with me as far as how do you measure productivity? Because you see a lot of stuff out there that says, I just increased my productivity by 200%. You're like, well, what is that really?
I don't know.
Congratulations, but how does that mean? Yeah, exactly. It sounds like a marketing scheme.
If it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true, right?
Yeah,
I mean, think about it. Yeah. Anyway.
So yeah, we're definitely going to dive in. Maybe that's next week's topic. If you guys agree, let's talk about how we can measure our productivity. But for this week, one of the tricks that I think that has been really effective for me, and there's some really super creative ones that I want to get into, but one just a very simple one for me is getting on a forum like this in Blab and just committing, like our productive yours and mine group, our PYM group. Like every day I try my best to actually put something out there and say, guys, this is what I'm going to do today. And nobody really cares. I mean, yeah, it's interesting or whatever to see what I have going on, but and at the end of the day, nobody really cares. But I care because I know that if I don't get that done, I've been very public about what I say I'm going to put out there. And I feel like I'm a hypocrite or I'm a fraud or liar sort of thing. And that's a psychological thing that I play with myself is like, okay, I'm going to tell you guys what I'm going to do. And I know for me, it's very effective for me to know that, okay, I'm going to follow through because I said I'm going to do it. And I want to be a man of my word.
I think that is so important. You are like a hitching post, you're like something that some of us, I mean, you've been so nice to say, thanks so much for supporting me and stuff. Well, think about maybe I'm getting something out of it. So, there's lots of different ways. You just have to pick something. There's a lot of different ways to be accountable. And you're being accountable every day on your PY. Productive years of mine. PYNM.
PYM. It's kind of complicated. And
but anyway,
for the folks that are watching, it's a Facebook, a little closed Facebook group that we have. If anybody wants to join, just look up Productive Yours and Mine and request to join. I'll let you in. It'd be cool. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and it's great because the thing is, you show up. I mean, you've missed a day here and there, but basically you show up. I mean, that's like commitment, and we need more people like that. And might I also add, that's sort of like leadership, Nick. You're being a leader. And we're following.
Yes. I'm trying to walk the talk. I'm doing my best to walk the talk. Exactly. No doubt. And I feel really, really bad when I don't get it out there. When I don't post unless you guys know what's up. But no, it's a cool little community. And so the other one that I want to touch, I don't know if we're ready. Does anybody have any comments on just personal trickery, I guess, for your own psychology you use to try to hold yourself accountable or use somebody else to hold yourself accountable?
Well, I can say one other thing is I really think when you're not being efficient or effective or you're having to be reactive to something that happens, I think to stop and take a deep breath really helps a lot. And I'm going to give you an example. Today, I left to go. I totally planned out getting to the airport for my 7:00 flight, which is now a 10:20 flight, by the way. But anyway, but forget that part. Okay, so I had it all planned out, and so I had a ride it's pouring rain in DC. I had a ride to the metro. I had my metro card. I did all this stuff. So I leave, and I'm about to get on the metro. My parents actually dropped me off, and I do my last spot check. I have certain things I do, like make sure I have everything with me. Well, guess what? No phone. Oh my God. I was flipping out. What am I going to do? I don't have my phone. I got to get to the airport. So I stopped and talked to this woman. I didn't take a deep breath. I didn't stop and get my wits, but this other lady had hers and I needed a phone.
Okay.
She helped me. And it turns out my phone had been dropped at the concierge desk where I live. So the guy had it at my building, and somebody was at my office, which is 5 minutes away from my house, and my house is 10 minutes away from the metro. So I called somebody, and that's another part. Ask for help.
Yes.
There's another thing for productivity.
You figured it out.
Ask for help. Called somebody, got resourceful, took a deep breath, asked for help, got to the airport, and then my flight was delayed.
I want to acknowledge you there because I can relate to that, Deb. When you have your day planned out and something goes awry, like some emergency situation comes up, and all of a sudden you got to adjust. It is just so amazing just how creative and innovative we get on how to make these decisions to move the day forward and get those critical things done. Like I remember there's a time where I had my whole day planned out and it was chock full, and all of a sudden, what happened? Like I think I don't know. I took my kid's lunch with me or something, right? And I was already like an hour from the house, and he wasn't going to eat if I don't give him my lunch, and we didn't have the money thing set up with his school or whatever. So I guess there was no real way that I could figure out how to get. So I had to like just take all this time off. And I couldn't believe how deliberate I was about the decisions that I made on what I needed to do. And the day went by, and I looked at my work and my productivity and how much I got done versus how much I probably would have got done had I not had to take 3 hours out of my day to do this. It's just something just recently happened. It's in the forefront of my mind. But yeah, it's like it's not really an accountability thing, but it's like a Parkinson's law thing. Like it's just the time for work automatically fills. If you give more time for work, you're going to fill it up somehow, some way. But if you push yourself and you work down to the wire, man, we just get smarter. Like we just jump up a couple IQ points or something. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's sort of like, Clem, it makes me think of something like, getting under a car because somebody's trapped under there. So you can lift the car.
Yeah.
So you're under stress, and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm Hercules, I can do this. I don't know. I just think you have to be very intentional about that. Your life is yours. You have to really, I really think, I know I sound so woo-woo all the time, but you really have to start to develop this sense of like, I belong in a space where I can be productive. I deserve to be productive.
Yeah.
You have to go after it. You have to say, this I deserve, and it will help not only me, but everybody I know or all my family.
Yes.
Yeah, because it'll help you to be your best, the better version of yourself.
Yeah.
By being productive, by realizing, understanding that sense of self, understanding that, like, accountability. My family holds me accountable. Like, I have to be my best at all times for my family, for my wife, for my kids, for my in-laws, my brother-in-law, just my family, my whole family. And my younger brother is looking to get in the same business that I'm in, and I'll be in Maryland working. So I was like, well, hey, you know what? I'll get you on the job, as a stagehand, and you'll be able to kind of see what it's really like, not just from seeing pictures of me at work that I post, but actually be at my job and see what it entails. And he said, okay, yeah, I'm going to do it. And I was like, I understand you're going to do it, but I'm going to ask these people to hire you. That means you need to show up. Like there's no the day before, oh no, I can't, I'm sorry, something came up. My name is on you. So I'm trying to make sure that you understand accountability, and I'm trying to hold you accountable because, I don't want to make him look bad. It's just trying to make sure I think it's a generational thing sometimes. Yeah. That
that makes me think of the fact that you have got to get a tough enough skin to sort of jump in when those things could go a wrong way and make sure that you set the boundaries immediately for whoever's involved with what you're trying to accomplish, because remembering that, if somebody else screws you up, there goes your productivity right out the window.
Right.
That's right.
I mean, and then you're not in control of the situation. And, being in control, you have to figure out what do you really have the power over? And what you have the power over is your own wits, your own choices, your own resourcefulness, all of that. And then the rest of it, you have to have a little faith that you will figure it out that way, because other people are going to throw a monkey wrench into it all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah. I want to acknowledge real quick, because Jeff's had this comment up here for a while. He says he's got an accountability partner in the UK, which is cool in and of itself. But you said you created a Slack group for the two of you. You set goals each week, and then you have to own up as to why we don't get things done. It hurts, but it works. That's cool.
I like that. It hurts.
That's cool. So I just wonder,
but it works.
Yeah. I wonder how long, Jeff, you've been doing that, and if it's been a short period of time, do you feel like you have enough credibility there with your partner that you're going to continue it, or if you've been doing it for a while, like what was it that really you put into place to make it stick? Since September last year, that's a pretty long time. Congratulations, man. That's not easy to do. From an accountability perspective, I can think of one thing that I know when I was in corporate, at least. I'm trying to think of how this might apply to entrepreneurship. It totally would apply. But one way to hold myself accountable to getting things done is if I had an assignment or a project that I want to work on, that it was me, myself, like my desire, something I wanted to do myself and not necessarily anybody really cared about, I would set myself a deadline for what I want to get done, and immediately say I want to give myself 3 weeks to do it. I'd schedule a meeting with the higher ups to review whatever project it was that I wanted to get done. Somebody that would take an interest in that, I'd really care. If I screwed it up, I'd really care about their reaction to it. So that was one for me. Is like, okay, I know I'm not necessarily going to get this done on my own, but I know that if I'm meeting with my senior vice president in 3 weeks, then I'm damn sure going to have something ready. So that was one way that I found it was kind of an interesting way to hold myself accountable in the corporate world. Jeff says common life situations and similar whys. We kind of need an outsider to look at each other, look at things and tell each other we're crazy, and 2, we need to do better than we've been doing. That's very interesting. So yeah, similar life situations, people that you can trust, that you know that'll hold your feet to the fire.
Yeah.
It's good to have those people in your life, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Go ahead.
Definitely. Now I was going to say, like, for my job, I'm here for an IBM convention's going on in Vegas right now. And I got here on the 17th, and we have basically 3 days to load in an arena for this convention for thousands of people. And all of us have a job to do, and we understand that the end goal has to be met. No matter what, the show must go on. The end goal of putting together this show has to happen. So throughout the day, we all work. We put in 16-hour days every day. 16 hours on, take 8 hours, another 16 hours. But we hold each other accountable because we realize that we are here as professionals to get the job done.
And Clem, also, I'm sure you're spreading the love around when you're doing that. You're like telling people that you appreciate their level of productivity.
Oh yeah, I definitely.
That way, that really makes you more cohesive.
Yes, yeah.
When you be generous.
Mm-hmm. And you have to walk around with that generous smile and make people feel like. 16 hours sitting still is miserable in the dark. It can be miserable, but you have to find a way to feel productive. You have to feel like you're being productive and not just sitting there while other people are rehearsing for hours and hours and back-to-back rehearsals,
Yeah, so, that's true. Well, you have a team that depends on you.
I got something. We were talking about how do you trick yourself, right? Tricking yourself. So I've been here since the 17th, and it wasn't until yesterday that I felt like a human, or I felt, and not just a robot or just a body, excuse me, in a chair at work. I watched a movie yesterday, while sitting there in the dark.
You mean you took a break?
I took a break.
What the heck is that?
I took a break and I watched the movie The Intern with Robert De Niro.
Oh, good movie.
And I was sitting and I just enjoyed it. I just felt happy and I was in the moment. And I felt relieved. When the movie was done, I was like, I could take a breath. I could breathe. I was just, it felt nice to feel.
You almost breathed right there. I was waiting for the breath to come through.
But I just realized that's how I tricked myself.
Good for you. You know what? Somebody once said this, and I always loved it, and I always keep it in my back pocket. I love cheap tricks. Whatever it takes. I love cheap tricks.
Whatever it takes.
Right. Yeah. Seriously, be scrappy, be creative. That's a form of creativity if you think about it. To be productive in the face of adversity is to be creative about how you go about doing it. How do you cajole people into helping you?
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, cajole people to helping you, but then to be productive when nobody else cares. That takes a lot of creativity, right? Especially the solopreneur.
I think on a desert island alone, you know?
Well, yeah. I mean, just simple things like one is Blab. If I didn't have it scheduled at 9 p.m. every Wednesday night, then I may or may not do it. But I know that at least I have a small circle of 9. It looks like here that may or may not be depending on this thing. But it's a form of accountability. If I say I'm going to Blab at 9 p.m., I'm going to do it, and I'm going to get that message out and hopefully help people. But one thing as a solopreneur that I found was an interesting way that I never really thought about it was when I started getting help, outsourcing things. And I knew that, like for the podcast, for example, I knew that my editor needed the podcast ready, needed me to record, the interview or the setup and closing remarks or whatever by a certain time so that he could edit it by the time that I needed it. Right. So I by that relationship, I created these deadlines to hold myself accountable to getting it done versus waiting until the last minute, and having something a poor product at the end. So I think the more even if you're solopreneur, the more people you can work with that are around you, it's despite your, thank you, Jeff, counting despite your technological issues. Gosh, I have so many technological issues. Thanks. But
you got all those
the more people
that
you, yeah, no, I don't. I know. Hopefully I sound louder because I took the mixer board out of the mix.
I told you.
The mixer board, I'm direct connect, so hopefully it sounds better. But yeah, the more people that you can set up around you, even if it's just you and your business, the more people that you can team up with, and you start building that camaraderie. Right?
And you know what, too, you have to do, Nick, is you have to then prioritize them above other things where you might not have before, because to keep them busy is to keep your mission going. So I think people, they look at the people that are helping them maybe as an annoyance, and you can't think of it that way. I mean, you got them involved for a reason, or they're there for a reason, and you should use them to their best effect, which is called being resourceful once again with what you got. So, and you got it. And that's where you're balancing out long-term gain and short-term gain. And so if it means you've got to train somebody, like I think you were talking about that a couple of weeks ago about hiring your administrative assistant. You got to train them, but you got to take that time because it's going to pay back later, big time.
And I never would have done that had I not worked with the broker that was, arranging the VA for me. And she said, look, if you want to get this done, then I need you to put together this video and show them how to do it by this time. Had she not did that, or had I not even, set up that infrastructure or whatever, I wouldn't have got it done.
Right.
I kind of want to pose this question to you guys and Jeff and the people that are in the chat. What are you trying to get done that you haven't got any groundwork or got any, made any progress on yet, with your business or your career or maybe even a home project or whatever? What is it you're trying to get done right now that you haven't started on yet because it's just, there's nobody holding you accountable? And then, well, let's just start with that. What, give me one thing you guys are trying to accomplish that you haven't got done yet. And then I'll follow up with another question.
Mission statement.
Okay. Mission statement for your business?
Yeah. I mean, just sort of that sense of direction, I mean, I sometimes lose that. I have a lot of input coming in all the time, but I haven't quite figured out how to turn that into output, and that's still a problem for me.
What do you say when you say input? You mean as far as like just feedback or like just ideas?
It could be tons of things. It's ideas. It's the person I meet on the street who I get an idea from. It's the idea I came up with on my way to work today, to my day job, about what I want to do with my podcast. It's like, it's on and on and on. And yet you have to stop, every day, every couple of days, every week, you talk about the weekly review. You got to stop. And I'm terrible at this. You got to stop and recalibrate yourself to that process. And the weekly review, as you mentioned before, is an excellent idea. I hope I'll do it one of these days.
Well, that's a good one to start with. Yeah, for sure. So, okay. So let's set up. I'm just trying to, so my follow-up question, Clem, I'm just excited. I want to forget about it. I want to let you go. Don't worry. But let's just jump on the weekly review thing. Cause let's be perfectly transparent. The productivity guy sometimes has trouble doing a very thorough weekly review. Sometimes just saying, sometimes I do. So I would think that a way that I could be, thanks, Jeff. Yes. I know. Oh my God. That may remind me of Kevin Hart. Oh my God! Oh my God! No. So one way that we could be productive in the way that we do our weekly reviews, Deb, is if you are willing, I'm just saying just out of the box, creatively, let's figure out a way we can send our weekly review or some sort of documentation of our weekly review to each other or to somebody that says, okay, hey, I did my weekly review. This is what I'm going to get done. And you actually have documentation. Like Jeff said, he's got his guy in the UK where whatever they're doing on Slack, I got to check out Slack. I keep hearing really good things about Slack. And, it's like, well, what did you get done? Did you get it done? And if not, then do you have somebody there that's going to call you out? Well, no, it's not okay that you didn't get it done. I don't care what excuse you had. It's not okay. Like, you could have done this.
Well, especially because, if you decide, weekly review is, even if you get 2 things on the list, it's better than no things on the list. Maybe that's a PYM thing. Is it Sunday night we post our weekly reviews?
Yeah. That's a really good idea.
Most people do it on the weekend, right?
I try to do it on Friday afternoons.
Okay, so you could just hang on to it until I definitely won't get to it till Sunday. I never will. But I want to hit the ground running for the new week. So, I'm willing to do it on a Sunday night. Let me put it that way. You can decide whatever you want.
Okay, sure. And I think about our Catalyst group, Deb, where we had for a very brief moment, we were doing like this weekly check-in.
I know.
And I really liked that.
It fell apart, didn't it?
And why did it fall apart? Because our coach didn't necessarily ask us, didn't really hold us accountable. For me, it was
That's
like
right.
Nobody really did anything with that. I put it in there. I felt like people weren't really looking at it, and I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna do my own thing.
Well, and Melissa, I took it upon myself with Melissa that we're gonna put out our, we're gonna continue our Catalyst group as a bi-weekly 1-hour meeting instead of 2 hours, and we're gonna make it happen. I have not taken that off my list. It will happen.
Yeah.
It just might not happen today or tomorrow, but it will happen. You got to keep it on the list if it's important enough. Just keep putting it back on the list. Don't feel guilty. Keep putting it back on the list.
Are we going to get back in the list versus calendar discussion? Because that's a pretty powerful discussion. Do you use lists or do you use calendars? And, I was fighting my wife with this thing, fighting her tooth. And I think we might have even had a blab about it. I can't remember.
Oh, Nick, I love it.
If we didn't. Yeah,
I want to share.
But if we didn't have a blab about it, then we need to. Where she was like, "It's got to go on the calendar," and I'm like, "Well, wait a second. What if I don't want to commit to it? It's got to go on a list." And I tell you, my mindset nowadays is I am keeping far fewer lists than I did in the past. I'm just telling you right now. We'll talk about that later. Go ahead, Clem.
So,
what do you have? What are you trying to get done?
Oh, I was going to talk about the calendar versus list thing. But I'll go back to the previous.
Yeah, go back to what are you trying to get done? Yeah, let's like a derail too much. Let's be productive with the accountability discussion here. Come on now. Stay focused.
I have 2 short-term things that I need to get done. And one more short-term.
Did I lose you?
There he is.
Good.
You got me?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, probably poor hotel reception. I need to, every week, I'm supposed to do a breakdown of my spending for the week. And so my wife, who's a CPA, can consolidate the funds, and every week I'm supposed to do it. And I just always put it off because it's just, it's like a stressor for me to sit down and to look at everything and do it. And I'm hindering my wife from being productive because every week she's looking for it and she has to ask me, where's your breakdown? Where's your breakdown? And it's like, it's affecting the productivity of the household.
And other things probably.
By not having it.
She's probably getting mad at you.
I know. No, she is. She's getting irritated.
Well, since you kind of brought up finances, I could just talk a little bit real quick, Deb, and you might be proud of me with this, actually.
I will be, I'm sure.
Yes, I'm sure. So finance wise, so I met with my accountant to kind of go over my stuff, and I said, you know what? I don't like this accounting thing. Like, it's not my thing. I don't like to do it. I don't want to every year go through, and I don't really necessarily want to use QuickBooks because I try to sync it up and it sucks and whatever. I don't want to do it. So I said, look, can you do this for me? What would it take? And they're like, yeah, I'll do this for you. Just here's a whole set of envelopes every month. Mail me your receipts, or we'll set this Dropbox thing, and you can tell me what it is you expend, and we'll put it in for you. We'll categorize it, and if I have any questions, I'll let you know. I'm like, yes, that's awesome. And it's like, it ends up being
I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. Because, like $40 an hour.
I know, and that's a good rate. That's a very good rate. And you know what? If you get used to somebody, that'll pay dividends later. I mean, us accountants, the higher paid part of this whole process will appreciate that the lower paid part of the process is set up, and then it'll cost less in the long run. You just don't know it yet.
Yeah. So that's, for me, it was a total accountability thing where I know where I sort of am. Like, I know when I'm coming, what the money's coming in. I know I'm on payroll now. Like, I paid myself. I cut myself a check every month now, which is cool. But all the little nuances and little expenditures and stuff and the mileage and all that, it's like, no, I'm not doing that. I do it all at the end of the year or the end of the quarter.
Well, here's two more as far as productivity. Two pieces of information is, one is keep your business and your personal separate. All you people out there, Clem, Nick, everybody, keep it separate. Hello, as best as you can. I mean, I'm not saying don't make mistakes. And then the second thing is really go after the concept that you've got both the dividing up the business and personal, but then you've got the part of your business that is going on all the time. And that would be like your constant marketing. So those things, be more aggressive about getting those things into your business expenses, because they can go in as meals and entertainment, as long as you're documenting what you're spending it, who you were with, because you're always marketing business. Save yourself some money on your taxes. Yeah. And so in that sense, you can probably be putting more on your business than you even realize you could. But then if it's purely personal, like a Netflix movie that you ordered or something like that, pay it off your business or your personal account.
I'm in television production. I need to watch that Netflix movie.
Oh, okay. I got you. That's different. I mean, look, if I have the Wall Street Journal and I wouldn't even want to read the Wall Street Journal were it not for my business, then it's business. Yeah. As long as you can justify it and you feel comfortable with it, why not? You should. Right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to have my own demand. Oh, you got your flight? Is there?
Well, I'm there. It looks like they're starting to look for us to come and get on the plane. So yeah.
You're still in DC right now? Yes. Or you're still in? Yeah. Okay.
Are you at DCA or BWI?
I'm at
DCA tomorrow though.
Yeah.
Are you going? We'll wrap up. I'll ask you a little bit more about Podfest. But you're going to be there in the morning, Deb? Or are you going to go later?
Yeah, no, I'll be there in the morning, but I won't be getting the hotel till about 1 a.m. So I may miss the first thing. I don't know, but I'm staying in the hotel.
So for anybody that's watching, Deb and I were going to be in Tampa. I live in Tampa, and so was Clem, but he's in Vegas. We're going to Podfest, which is probably the second biggest podcasters conference in the continental U.S. I would say. So I'm really excited to do my first podcast. I had my show now for 2.5 months, and here I am. I'm rubbing shoulders with the best of them.
Cool. Well, Clem, I'm very sorry I won't get to meet you this time, but I'll meet you next trip. It's only $150 round trip to fly to Tampa.
Wow. Yeah, make it happen.
It's a great deal.
That's a great deal.
A direct flight that's only 3.5 hours late. All right, you guys, I'm signing off.
Bye.
All right. Well,
bye, everybody.
Thanks, Dad. Thanks so much. I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, bye.
So I'll mention one more thing, more very, very just creative way that I fell in love with this concept. And I think I've said it again. I don't want to sound like a repeating broken record or whatever, but the website stick.com, STICKK, for all you who are watching that don't know about it, man, Stick is brilliant. And the example that I could cite from what I've done so far since I've been in business for myself is I could not figure out how to give myself the incentive to build my website. And I just couldn't do it for whatever reason. I got hung up on the tech. I was using WordPress and I hated it. And I couldn't find the things that I wanted to do, I couldn't get done. I didn't want to pay somebody to do it because I wasn't really into the outsourcing thing at the time. I was getting started or whatever. So I went to Stick and I used my coach as a referee. So you can go to Stick and you can find a referee, somebody that you know, like Jeff in his UK accountability partner, somebody that you know is going to hold your feet to the fire, that you trust they're going to hold your feet to the fire, and you put money on whatever it is you want to do. So in my case, I was like, I'm going to take this website and I'm going to have a fully functioning website in 2 weeks. I gave myself 2 weeks from start to finish. I was like, it's going to be a stretch goal. And I put $100 on it. And my $100 was, if I had not got the website done, was going to go to a guy that I didn't necessarily want it to go to. I didn't have necessarily beef with the guy, but like he didn't need my money, and I certainly didn't want to give it to him. So he would have anonymously got a check from Stick that would have been pulled from my bank account. Had my referee said, no, he didn't get it done, send the money. So he's got full control over sending the money, which was brilliant. And a lot of people do like just their anti-charity. It's like, okay, well, American Nazi Association, or if you're not into guns, the American Rifle Association, whatever it is. So you can just set up whatever it is, because the premise is that we fear loss a heck of a lot more than we desire gain. So it's a lot easier to lose $100 than it is to have incentive to gain it. Yeah. That's right. And for me, that worked beautifully. And I was so efficient with that and laser focused on the thing that I think my deadline got the whole thing fully functioned the way that I wanted it to do. And I honestly have not tweaked it much since then. About 4 hours before my deadline, like I worked like a dog to get the stupid thing done. So it was interesting concept to really hold. If it comes down to it and the accountability partner's not working, and your community, your PYM community isn't really coming through or caring what you're doing, then that's like the last resort for me, is using Stick or something similar to it.
Hey, Hectic Dad, that's pretty funny. That's true, because my wife would be like, hold on. You gave $100 to who? For what? Because you
gave it to your ex, to your college girlfriend? Is that what you said?
So that's what we're gonna do now. No,
I'm just saying.
Oh no,
I'm just saying that would be a really good. That'd be a good example. Yeah, explain to your wife another level of accountability and fear. There is that, man. There's that accountability and fear, man. It's such a motivating factor. Yeah. So Clem, did you answer the question? If you did and I completely forgot, then I apologize. What did you want to get done?
Well, the first thing was the weekly budget thing. I'm behind on that. Right. So I need to do that. And the other thing is still the family mission statement.
I thought you said you had that done.
I did my personal one. I have yet to sit down with Jocelyn and have the conversation about our family mission statement. I'm so ashamed.
Don't be ashamed. Pick yourself up and get going, man. So I got to give a little bit of insight on this family mission statement thing. So my podcast is called the Make It Snappy Productivity Show. I'm changing the format up, right? And the week one's going to be a discussion with my wife and I. Basically, what's the topic of the month? So it's going to be like a 4-week series. And the first topic of the month is purpose. Because for me, I feel like if you don't have purpose behind your productivity, then there's absolutely no sense in being productive, because if you don't have a vision for where you want this thing to go, you could be working very, very productively on all the wrong things and just spinning your wheels. So I feel like it really does start with purpose. So that's the topic of the month. And so we set this thing up, and guess what we talked about on week one's episode? Because we actually recorded it. Yeah, we recorded it last night, believe it or not. We recorded it last night. Well, it was the family mission statement and the importance of the family mission statement. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, we talked about it. And we kind of broke it down a little bit about, what, and I read some really good articles, did a lot of research on what it takes to do a family mission statement. Yeah. We have not. Now, I spent a lot of time thinking about my personal mission statement and the things I wanted for my own career and why. And I felt like I have pretty good alignment and support on my personal stuff for what I want to do. But we don't live life alone, right? Right. I mean, there's accountability there. There's a family. There's not only my wife and I, but now I got these 2 kids and this unborn kid that's about to come here in 8 weeks. Yeah. And
I'm going to add something. It's not just that. Yeah. You have to think about their children. The Bible says
now you're getting too deep.
I'm getting deep. I get deep. I get deep. Yeah. Because you do. Like the Bible says you have to leave an inheritance for not only your kids, but your kids' kids. So you have to be accountable for generations, because you're instilling values in them or things in them that they're going to pass on. That's a deeper level of accountability.
So Jeff asks why? Why is that important? Legacies and the actions and values that you actually express. That's deep, Jeff. You're deep. I can't wait for you to actually call in one day. When you muster up the courage, it's going to be good to see you and have you explain this. But so legacy, right? Yeah. So I guess when it comes to family mission statement, this the research that I've done a little bit that I talked about on week one and that's going to launch the first week of March. Actually, it's going to be next week, so not this week, but next week. Is that you talk about, you answer the question, each person in the family would answer the question, okay, what is this family all about? Like, what are we all about? Like, what is your vision, or how do you feel about our family? What's our culture? Like, what are the different, the way that you view our family, or the way that you want our family to be viewed from the outside? And you start there, right? Mm-hmm. And hopefully, collectively, as a family, you can agree on the key factors, those values that Jeff said there, legacies, the values that you actually express. And if you go through the process of a family, there's a lot more to it, at least in the article that I wrote. And a lot of it was derived from Stephen Covey, 7 Habits guy. But, you know, you get it drafted up into the form that you want, and you frame it or display it in a prominent way in your house, so you see it every day and you refer back to it every day. I
got something for you. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So,
well, and then from the end part of that is, as your family grows and develops, you know, more additions or whatever, you have the discipline to go back and refine it as not necessarily your values change, but your focus changes. Yeah. But go ahead, man. You seem pumped up to talk about.
No, I am. So not most, but there are a lot of families that have a crest, and you don't even realize it. Like, there is a Herod crest. There may be a Snap crest. A crest is, and as we're talking, it makes sense to me. A crest is probably just a mission statement. That is that family's mission statement. That is that family's legacy, because each thing in that crest means something. It means something to them. It means something that they've sat down and talked about, and have or taken those words and created a picture or created part of a crest. So a crest is like a mission statement. You have any idea what I'm talking about?
So you're saying back in the day, whenever this family that took your last name, when they actually sat down and they talked about what their family means, they had this mission statement thing. It probably wasn't called a mission statement back then. It was called some sort of medieval whatever expression, and they built this crest
or a shield.
Yeah, of what the legacy. Why do you guys think? And that's really powerful, man. Why do you guys think that what's in a name was so much more valued back then than it is now? Why is it not important anymore? It's not important, but why don't people necessarily even think about it? And by the way, Jeff, before you answer that, Jeff's got a question for you too. So I got 2 questions. So you can answer that one. You can answer Jeff's here, because I don't know how to answer his question.
What is Jeff's question? Why haven't I talked to my wife? Honestly, this time of the year is just very busy for the both of us. We work a lot, and I understand. I have an idea of how this conversation needs to be approached, and that takes time and that takes focus. And I don't feel like right now, with as busy of our schedule is not a good time. It's not a time to try to attack.
Lost you for a bit there, man. Hopefully you come back soon.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm here. Can you hear? Okay. Where did I leave off?
I think you're about to say tackle, maybe.
Oh yeah.
The word. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the reason why.
Okay.
But what were we talking about before that? The crest.
So why do you think that society nowadays doesn't really value what's in a name?
What a name,
like it used to be.
I think people just, I don't know, because I did value what and gained a deeper value of what a name means. You know?
You've actually got a really good story, and I'll let you go into that. My first instinct is that we're just too damn busy. You know, we're too busy to care. We're too wrapped up in this rat race, this just continuous hamster wheel we call life, to think about what's in our name and really think about legacy and even have the conversation. I'm 36 years old. I haven't had the conversation. I've been with my wife for, gosh, I don't know. Like, we've been dating like a total like 18 years, like a really, really long time for a 36-year-old guy. And we had never had the conversation. So think about that, man. The most important thing in life is, what do you want to do with life? And you never even freaking talk about it.
Right.
Like, how dysfunctional is that?
But I think we may have spoken about it at some point, because that's what allowed us to come together and decide to spend our life together. So we talked about it, but we didn't follow up on it. We didn't have a second meeting about it to actually set forth goals and make sure we achieve those goals.
No accountability.
No accountability.
Just pointed at the camera. No accountability.
Oh,
that was intense. Like the finger gets really large.
Whoa. You did it again. But yeah, what's in the name? So my great-grandfather, his name was Clement Phillip. And my grandfather's name was Clement Phillip. My mother's side. My father's side, my grandfather's name was Linwood Harrod. My grandfather's Linwood Harrod. My dad is Linwood Harrod. And so my name is Clemente Linwood Phillip Harrod. So I have my grandfather's names as Clement, and I'm Clemente. And then we named my son Clem's son. So Clem is the surname in all of us, and CJ is Clem's son, kind and merciful.
Kind and merciful. And you told me this, I think you might have even told me this today.
It was yesterday, I think, while we were out there.
You told me this yesterday, and I thought it was fascinating. So kind and merciful. And that's important. Obviously, it's important to you from the fact that you named this all generation of Clems for what, four generations now.
Clems. Yeah.
4 generations. Yeah. And so kind and merciful is a value that you want to take in your legacy. You want to continue it, right?
Right, definitely.
Is that why you view that?
Definitely. Yeah.
And then Herod. You have a story with Herod too.
Oh, God.
Right?
Yeah. There's always a story. Oh, man. So I was raised by my mother. My mother and I have my dad's name, and my name was Clemente Harrod. That's how I grew up, as Clemente Harrod. And so I find out in my teens that my dad went through a rebellious phase and decided to not be a Herod, to no longer be a Herod, but refer to himself as Harrod. And so I found out about this, and I was like, well, everybody knows me as Clemente Harrod, so I'm still going to be Clemente Harrod. So I get married, and, my wife is Jocelyn Harrod. In certain circles, she's still Jocelyn Harrod. But when we got pregnant, my wife had our son, and at that moment, I realized that I didn't want to create a generational divide, because you have Harrods and Herods, and they split. I was thinking about my family's legacy, and so I just felt it important to make sure that there wasn't a divide. So
roots run deep with the Herods.
Yeah, all the way to London.
All the snaps do is just make stupid puns off the way our name sounds, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm sure there's more to Snap. I think back in the day, Snap it was German for schnapps, and we probably had some sort of alcoholic in the family or something.
Alcoholic.
I understand. I don't know.
Oh, snap.
I'm proud of the name. Whatever.
I love it, man. I say "oh snap" all the time, and it just hit me one day. I was like, "That's my homie right there." Oh snap!
It's a term of endearment, no doubt.
Good. I'm glad you don't take it as in a negative way.
You gotta own it.
Yeah.
You gotta own it. Yeah. All right. Well, it's 10 o'clock, guys. Does anybody else want to comment on accountability? It is. Yeah, it's 10 o'clock. Man, it goes quick.
Yeah.
So for the new format of the podcast, I started talking about it. Week 2 is going to be just an expert interview, right? Of like whatever the topic of the month is. We're going to find an expert, and I have found an expert. I actually found an expert on purpose that I've interviewed already today. Week 3 will be a coaching session. So put my coaching skills to the test, but it's going to be very topic focused. And week 4 is why I bring this up. Week 4, it's going to be Q&A, right? So I'm going to have a little widget on my website where you can call in and record whatever question you might happen to have on the topic of the month. And Clem and I are going to, we're going to record, do the best we can to answer those questions. So I think it's going to be fun, man. I'm looking forward to switching it up. The episodes are going to get shorter, and they're going to be more deliberate and focused and stuff like that. And that's what productivity is all about. So that's a little bit about the podcast. You can check it out on iTunes, SoundCloud, Make a Snappy Productivity Show. The site is makeasnappyshow.com. And that's all I got. I took the anonymous seriously. Oh, you did fill out the survey. Thanks for doing that, Jeff. I appreciate that, man. Yeah. I just decided, even though I got the feedback, that I just picked purpose because that's where it all starts. So, but I am going to take the feedback with the rest of the topics as we go month to month. So thanks so much for filling it out, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, there's a survey on thesnappyshow.com. So if you want to have a say in what we talk about in the topics of the month, as long as I'm relatively confident in my wherewithal about the topic, but even if I'm not, I'll find somebody that is, if it has to do with productivity, because I'm as much of a student as I am a teacher. So hopefully that's it's valuable and you get a lot out of it. Hopefully the blab is valuable. Yeah. You get a lot out of it, man. I'm having a blast though. It's good times. Clem, you want to say anything to close us out?
Oh man. Hey, just wish me just think about me when I'm on that flight. Safe travels, you know. It's always hard to get home. I'm headed to the airport in 2 hours.
Very nice.
On that red eye.
Nice. Well, on the red eye. Well, Fiona Hall joined. Thank you, Fiona, for checking us out on the blab. Jeff, as always, Hectic Dad 01. Thanks for joining, man. And Aaron? Aaron, who came on and talked a little bit about his experience with accountability. Man, accountability it's just important. I guess in closing, I would like to just say, like, whatever it is you're trying to work on, figure out. There's a way. We're smart enough. We're like, especially if we're in business for ourselves. We didn't take this leap. Hopefully not recklessly. Like, we're smart enough to figure out a creative way to get it done using some form of accountability, using, like Jeff said, a partner or stick.com, or just setting up a deadline that somebody else is going to be involved with, or whatever that strategy might be. Let's get that done. And if you want to be held accountable and you want to be part of this closed Facebook group that we have, the one that we've been talking about, the PYM, just look up Productive Yours and Mine. And the premise of the title is, like, what's that one productive thing that you're going to do? And then I tell you what the productive thing that I'm going to do. And it's about commitments. Like, I'm going to commit to doing this. I'm telling you guys in this group, our little group, what I'm committing to. What are you going to do? And then it's that public accountability. It gives us more incentive to do it. And if we can hold each other more accountable on whatever it is we're trying to work on, strategize and whatever, that's what community is all about. So yeah, check it out on Facebook. It's a closed group, and join. And I got a couple others join last minute. We're about to close out, guys. Really appreciate you checking in. Larry Reed, thank you. We'll be on every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Frank, thanks for checking in. And next week, I'm really, I think Jeff brought it up, but the topic that I'm very interested in talking about is, I know what it was, Jeff. It was actually tracking your productivity. Like, how do you track your productivity? But if I can go up here and just comment about the topic that you want to talk about next week. What was it, Jeff? I don't want to. Oh, there it is. There it is. Calendars versus lists. So next week we're going to talk about the school of thought of, okay, do you put it on a list or do you actually put it in your calendar and schedule time to do it? So that's going to be
excited about
so next week. Yeah, I'm excited about it. So next week at 9 p.m. we're going to talk about lists versus calendars. And hopefully everybody that jumped on last minute here, and they had one more person, just tune in. Who's that? Robin J. Thanks for joining. We're about to sign off. And so next week, talk about calendars versus lists. I hope everybody has a productive week and you have a little bit of purpose behind it. So, all right, Clem.
See you, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye.
We'll see you then. Bye.